Alright guys, so we're back in my garage, and this week on the B58 Digest, we have a few more topics to talk about, so let's go ahead and hop right into it. So the first update is one that I know a lot of you have been looking forward to, and we finally got pricing on the RK Autowerks Intake Manifold. So they posted up this picture last week to kind of show us a teaser of the final prototype, and from what I can tell, it looks pretty good, pretty simple, sleek setup, very similar to the designs and models that they showed us in the past, and you can see all the different bungs and everything that have come together. So the next slide on their story actually posted up the introductory pricing, and you can see they actually had a crazy sale on it, but the base pricing is coming in around $3,500, which is finally getting us an option below the $4,000 mark, so that's really exciting to see. And then the sale was giving an extra 20% off, so they were giving it to people for $2,800. Now, I will say at this point, all of those are gone, so it's not even worth reaching out to them to ask if you can get a pre-order. I highly suspect those are all gone. And I got a bunch of messages from people telling me that they saw this and they already had pre-ordered one. So yeah, a lot of people jumped on that just because it's such a hard offer to refuse. But they also reiterated some of the details about it. So of course it's bolt-on, no modification needed. It has port injection provisions to pull straight from your fuel, as well as secondary nitrous or meth ports if you want to add those on. It has OEM oil filter removal without removing the manifold. The core is 40% bigger, which is great to hear. And then it's made in America, and they offer it in a couple different custom colors. Now, they do say that there's a Gen 1 and Gen 2 configuration, and I think that it's good they cleared this up because something that has been lacking from a lot of the intake manifolds on the market so far is some real clarity around that. We see a lot of people from the Gen 1 running manifolds that are technically designed for the Supras or Gen 2s, so people don't know if there are two different versions available or if people are having to modify it to fit. And I can say, generally speaking, those manifolds are typically modified slightly to fit the Gen 1 engines. But in this case, it looks like they're going to have two specific setups. So primarily for the connections for your EVAP lines and things like that, those are different between the Gen 1 and TU engines. And I'm guessing any adapters or anything that you'll need to make this work will be provided with the kit. Now, the last thing that I'm waiting on is some actual data because I know a lot of people were concerned about airflow and wondering if there were really any noticeable reductions in IATs. Something like this is primarily to get you out of having a plastic manifold anyway, so if you're at that point, you're kind of just looking at this upgrade for reliability, but it would be nice to know if there are actual performance benefits and making sure that there aren't any downsides with, getting airflow to those farther back cylinders. So let's just keep an eye out for it. Once they start shipping them out, hopefully soon, we'll start seeing data and reviews from other customers. Maybe we'll even get some data from them with the official announcement. But definitely just exciting to see one that comes in at a lower price point. So it's a nice option for people that, didn't want to spend 4K. And speaking of manifolds, I don't know how this went under the radar for me, but AMS has already released their intake manifold. And this is one that we were talking about a lot last year and earlier this year, and then I just never really heard about it again. And maybe I've just been out of the loop, but I didn't realize that they actually officially released their intake manifold a couple months ago. So we'll just touch on a couple points for that in case you guys haven't seen it, but it's on their website. It does come in right at 4K, and it does have a pretty beefy core. It looks more similar to the EOS core, so it definitely should provide a lot of cooling. And then they have a couple points that they're really trying to hone in on as far as, separating themselves from the competition. A big one is the port injection angle, which you can see is extremely aggressive on this manifold. Not many have it tucked in that tight, but they put a lot of focus on making sure that the injector is pointed directly at the intake valves, which is the proper location and direction for it to spray. When you're using a spacer, typically it sprays directly at the walls of the manifold, so you can't really get it to spray into the cylinder. Not ideal, but still works. In this way, they're trying to make it as ideal as possible and basically making it look like it was designed to be OEM. So that's pretty cool. Hopefully it doesn't, cause any issues with actually installing your injectors and making that process difficult, but I think it should be fairly straightforward. So you can see what the manifold looks like. It's kind of got, maybe I would say, a louder look to it with those plates on top and having their logo etched into it. So a little bit different. Some people might really like that. I like kind of a cleaner look, but it's really kind of up to you. And then also as you scroll down, they show some of their modeling as far as how they optimized airflow and things like that. And then they also are optimizing their coolant flow. So they show kind of how they use their split core design to optimize how the heat transfer is managed inside of the intake manifold to get as much heat out of the intake air as possible. So pretty cool. I haven't really seen anybody run it, but I'm sure that there are people out there with it. Maybe, again, I've just been out of the loop since I didn't even know this was announced. But just another option that I saw, and some people put me on notice, so I thought I'd tell you guys about it too. Now we have another update from boot mode. So for the B58 Gen 1 guys, they had just released anti-lag, and they teased us that flex fuel and map switching were coming soon. Now they've officially released their Flex Fuel Kit, but the only thing that they're waiting on for the B58 guys is to get our actual wiring harness together. So right now, it's not something that we can actually use from a plug and play standpoint. So you can at least install it on your low pressure fuel pump for now. You know, it has all the provisions to do that, but it won't actually send any data to the DME until you have the plug and play kit. Now, I will say they have some pretty extensive instructions on their websites, and it shows you how to wire it manually if you want to, basically tapping into the lines instead of using that plug and play harness. I don't know anybody that's that hell-bent on making it work right now that can't wait for the harness, but that's also an option as well. So definitely check out their website. They have a bunch of details and information as far as how it works, how to install it, and things like that. They also mentioned a pretty cool feature that I didn't realize was coming, but it says that you can also use the cruise control buttons on the steering wheel to see your ethanol percentage at any time. So you don't need to have the app open, even though it will show on your dashboard in the boot mode gauges. There's going to be a setting where you can press on your actual steering wheel and it'll show in, the tach basically what your percentage is. So if it shows 6,000 RPM, then it's 60% ethanol, or 8,000 RPM is 80% ethanol. So it'll be kind of like a quick and easy way for you to check your e-content while you're driving. So yeah, I'm excited about this. I just like seeing more and more options becoming available for everybody. So hopefully we get this as an option for the B58 soon, and then people can actually test it out. So yeah, that's all we have for this week. We kind of had a shorter update this go around, but hopefully you guys still saw some value in it. And thanks again to everybody for watching and everybody that's been sharing posts and making sure, I see any of these little announcements and things like that. Definitely keep doing that. I really, really appreciate it because it helps me out with getting content for these videos. So I hope this video helps. And if you guys have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.